Okay, all right. Good evening to our Indian colleagues and good morning from Mount Sinai. Welcome for this episode 7, Cath Lab Live by Sun Pharma. And I'm happy to welcome both our faculty, Anunya Gupta, and moderator, Dr. Sandeep Bansal, for today's this event, which has been possible by Sun Pharma with introduction by my staff, usual our Cath Lab team, all here with Dr. Kini on my left side. We now have two new fellows, Negar and Isha, and rest is known Cath Lab, our CVT nurses and research imaging assistant. So with that note, I think we'll have a lot of discussion about this particular case. And if it's okay, Sandeep and Anunya, we want to just start our presentation and then we'll have a lot of talk on various things. And let's see if this is my work. They gave me a new clicker. Let's see where should be facing. Okay, this is our the disclosures, and just to both of you, a little description about the clear with the individual faculty. We always make it that Anunya Gupta, he is the faculty today, is assistant professor in cardiology. I would say budding interventionalist. Have interacted in various meetings. And these are his credentials with the MD and DM, various gold medals, and has been into a lot of research and activities with the trials and also interest in the EP. And of course, Sandeep Bansal, our old friend for a long time. He is very reputed professor and head of the Department of Cardiology at Vardhaman Mahavir Medical College and Safdarjung Hospital in New Delhi. I've been to Safdarjung few times in the past, and of course he has been he has held many prestigious posts, including the private physician to the Prime Minister of India, and on various governing bodies, and has 94 plus papers and so. And he has been the editor of the Indian Heart Journal. I know a few years ago he asked me to be the co-editor international faculty, and I did. So with that note, if everybody is fine, we just go over today's case presentation, which is our case number 9. This patient has 68-year-old, has a chronic CAD, because he had CAD for about 15 years. So age of mid-50s, and then presented now last month with a new onset class 3 angina. Patient has last PCI was in 2012 of the RC and circumflex. Various risk factors are shown here, and I just want to say that SAQ is the one which we are trying to propagate. That basically is many of these patients rarely have chest pain nowadays. They feel fatigue, short of breath. So SAQ 7 is the from 0 to 100. 100 means asymptomatic, 0 is severe. So elective patients, we all our nurse practitioners, this is a simple 7 questionnaire. They enter SAQ. This case has SAQ of 55. More importantly, when you have multivessel disease, when patient comes back, then we have a follow-up SAQ from baseline, that how much change has occurred. And we learned that even multivessel disease, your most improvement in SAQ occur after your first PCI. We do a complete revascularization, stage PCI, but that time is very little. So key is culprit, although we believe in complete revascularization, but most improvement in SAQ, we published that, occurs after your first PCI. He's on multiple medical therapy, including medicines for diabetes and insulin. So this patient had a cardiac cath on June 24th, which revealed 3 vessel and left main. 70% calcified left main. We are going to go through it, and high syntax score. So Anu will show the angio. Actually, interesting, the right coronary.
This is a normal EF, and right coronary artery prior resolute stents patent, but he has a new lesion, progression of disease in I would say mid to distal RCA as well as RPL.
It is just, I can tell you, this is just in last 1 month. It was only less than 50% lesion before. Okay, this is the left side.
Yeah. So yes, I would say significant left main disease, circumflex, where you see, there is disease in the distal circle. OM1 has a lesion And then in the cranial view, actually you can appreciate left main who has tram track calcium, and then you have moderate calcium prox LAD, mid LAD after the first septal. And there is a ramus 90-95% lesion, and then you have a diagonal that is totally occluded, which is large and branching.
And your next ball.
And this is where we are.
Yeah. So with that note, if we continue as we always make our presentation, we go back to the slides, please. Complete. So this patient, as usual, because of diabetic and multi-vessel disease, which is by the guidelines, referred for bypass surgery. Syntax score was 40. EF was normal, as I said. But after discussion with the family, because they have bad outcome about some patient in the family, refused, and now patient is here for high-risk PCI of multi-vessel using rotational atherectomy, and of course I was in the end. So we go back to the what are the guidelines. We know that in these cases not only you calculate syntax score, also STS after heart team approach, and this patient STS is low actually because a young person is 1.2, anything more than 4 is considered as unfavorable for them, high syntax score. So if we put into this graph of the op criteria, the left main and 3 vessel, so in these kind of cases, we know that many of them are inappropriate or so, but at the same time, after heart team discussion, it becomes appropriate, which I say that after heart team discussion in this particular case happened, that patient is here now and appropriate in my opinion for this purpose. So with that note, if we just want to go ahead and have a further case, and we can hear from our expert moderators and faculty that how would you use this case, which is very calcific, proximal LAD to left main. Actually, when you engage the left main, ostial is okay, but slightly go in, it's a ventriculization. We should be showing the hemodynamics on one side also. Okay, Ananya and Sandeep, let's comment on yeah.
This is a
Tell them what balloon. We cannot hear well.
Anatomy. And we are going to need you need to prepare the bed, as you said, with a rotablator or any other decalcifying method as maybe deemed necessary. The other thing that I see is that you're going to need multiple stents, and actually I would have loved to see AP caudal to be able to see the the left circumflex anatomy better.
Yeah, right
if
here.
You have that.
Yeah, right here. Yep,
this is the AP caudal. Yeah.
It's a, I mean, it's a 26 caudal, but here you see the main circ. There has been a stent in the circumflex, which is fine. Yes. OM1 has about 50-60% disease. But
since you don't see the ostium really well, this is where we have to go LAO.
Yeah.
So circ ostium looks good in the true LAO. Yeah.
Yes. But the OM that's coming out there looks to be diseased.
Yeah, there's a small OM, and then there is one other OM which has also significant lesion, which is moderate size, has a long, over 20 millimeter diffuse.
I would say that if you think the ostium of circumflex is pretty clean, and you don't, I mean, would you really be going after the circ?
Well, I would say, yeah, that's a very good point. So knowing that in this particular case, so much extensive disease of the left main, LAD, ramus, and maybe open the diagonal, the moderate OM, I think, can be left alone. And I think particularly what we learned from the ischemia trial, that when you used to be nervous about all these moderate lesions left, whatever 60-70%, we learned that that's okay. You can leave them without much problem.
Any thoughts about physiology? Any thoughts about doing a FFR of this?
Yeah, no, I would say that particularly from the ramus, I mean, for the circumflex, if we decide that we should intervene, then we should go with FFR. If we decide to mere medical management, I think it is okay because not a critical lesion. I would say now, based on what I saw the angiogram today, I would definitely would like to do FFR on the right coronary because that was less than 30-40%. Hopefully, we'll get the picture. Yeah.
Yes, the mid right coronary lesion seems to be a little more severe.
Okay.
So we actually did a direct wiring with the rotawire, and now we have 1.5 burr ready. We are going to start with 1.4, and how we chose the burr, since it's a long lesion and heavy calcium left main, moderate calcium in the prox LAD, mid LAD. Because of the long lesion, that's why we selected 1.5 burr. Patient could become symptomatic because of significant calcium in the left main, rather than going with 1.75 burr. That is the reason to pick 1.5. And then we are going to do our 3 steps. Move this knob backward forward, Y connector backward forward, and then just a tap on the dyna. Yeah.
Right.
Good.
Yeah, we're too far.
Yeah.
Yeah. So question is, in this particular case, after the LAD is also very tortuous, that should we even do 1.75 for the proximal, which could be, but we're learning that 1 burr is good enough most of the time. Although if we see there is no resistance, then maybe we can decide about 1.75.
Yes. Actually, another question or another point to be discussed at this point is your choice of your choice of method used for treating the calcification.
Yeah, very good point. So question comes is there were two in terms of atherectomy and now the IVL. The laser usually you keep it for uncrossable lesion or ISRs. So this one kind of case where this could be both orbital and rotational. We are not showing orbital cases more to India yet because we are supposed to bring it, but because of the COVID, everything has been put to the back burner. So once we start close to, and of course once we get to the DCGI, we are going to get the permission to bring orbital, although original orbital trials, Orbit 1 and 1 was done in India. And so, but we had to come back again with a different disposable because right now it's very expensive. So we say that motor has to be exchangeable, means that you can sterilize, but only the crown they call. So that should be changeable, so the price goes down because right now that also is very expensive, just like IVL. The question is IVL here with a long lesion, that because you can do only 8 pulses, and so this case will require multiple of them. So probably IVL maybe adject to some areas which you could not open, and will be the combination. So otherwise, coming back to 2 atherectomy approaches, in this case both orbital and rota are perfectly fine.
Yeah,
either of them.
In fact, Sharma, there are a couple of case reports, and there's a new term called rotatripsy.
Yeah.
What's your thought of that? You need both in the same.
No, you want 1.75? No.
That's a balloon. Yeah. No, that is true. So combination here. Yeah. So here, so right now we have had a good, reasonable, and I say always, don't worry about what burr size you did, because what we do is, let's think about orbital is 1.25. What it does is it cuts the calcium. Your subsequent balloon dilatation will open it up. So what we are going to do now, we are 2O balloon or 1.5. No, this is what 3O? Yeah, 3O. Yeah, no. Let's go with the 1.5 balloon to both. I will try to see that if we can open the diagonal. Why and then the ramus.
Why 1.5 balloon? No. Wire.
Yeah.
2 or 12. I mean, you're going wire.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
2 or 12.
Yeah, 2 or 12. Yeah. So I think in this particular case, we try to open few with the balloon. Doesn't have to be that you have to have a balloon, stent. Now, we don't have the drug-coated balloon. And I know the concept is going on now. The small vessel, although the recent trial did show that even in the small vessel, the DES, there was no advantage of the drug-coated balloon. There is kind of a feeling happening at present. And I know the Colombo is very big proponent of using the drug-coated balloon in a small to medium-sized vessel and not stented. But again, we have limitation here. because the drug-coated balloon is not available, and again we also know the most of the data of the drug-coated balloon are basically patients with the ISR.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
perhaps the strongest indication currently.
Yeah. Right.
Get me the run through.
Huh? Yeah,
Okay, good.
Yeah, here, take the balloon now. Support.
Wait.
You will need the balloon support.
I'm trying to see if I
Yeah.
can go.
So this we are trying to go through the. This is a fielder wire, and so little support with the small balloon. Try to go in there. It's a total occlusion. Back in 2012, we had the angiogram of 2012. This diagonal was open. It is like 2.25 millimeter vessel, but now it's completely occluded over this time period, about 8-9 years. Now, actually, patient has done very well by metabolic parameters, good A1C control around 6.5, LDL good. So all, of course, everybody's HDL is low, but metabolic point of view, he has done quite well. Good control.
Right.
And now here, so that's also important. Our paper did show that we published the paper of the A1C during PCI, and we found a very interesting observation. That is that once you have very strict control and your A1C is low, particularly goes to less than 6.5, that's where you actually have a higher mortality. And if your A1C is high, then you have a higher myocardial infarction, and cutoff for that was 8.5. So there are little higher restenosis and MI. So MI and restenosis is higher in 8.5, and mortality is higher when it is 6.5, below 6.5. So sweet spot is, I would say, 6.5 to 8 or 7.5. We understood that you don't have to have so much strict control of A1C, which many other trials have shown also, that create more trouble, and the patients, the event happened. Yeah.
Fortunately for us, our endocrinology friends back here in India tell us that the average, HbA1c among diabetics in India is about 8.3. So it kind of just falls short of 8.5 yet.
Yeah.
I'm
Forget
sure
this,
that's
right?
enough.
Go to the Ramus. Yep, that is true. So, but at least we learned that you need to have control, but don't be that strict control which give you trouble. So right now we are doing the Ramus first. Go.
Yeah,
What I would do
think,
is-
you really need to see if you that diagonal is worth chasing. Actually,
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, if it's 100%.
Yeah, Anu wanted not to leave it alone, but I said let's try, knowing that I had the angiogram of 89 years ago. It was open, but anyway,
Give me a
we'll
run
see.
through, so I go to the LED. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, go up here.
Good. So now what we do, as usual, we'll see that here we do optimize. If you need to do a cutting balloon, we do. This is a 2O, a 12.
Down.
Right.
I think it
Balloon.
look okay.
Huh?
Look fine.
Yeah. Let's take a picture. We can put the lights down. Why they have lights on?
To see us.
No. Yeah, good. So that has opened nicely.
Yeah, that's open. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. I think you're right. Yeah.
How do you decide about hemodynamic support while doing such complex cases? If LV
Yeah,
function
so
is-
I would say that, yeah, you very good point. So question is that somebody who has a bad ejection, normal ejection fraction, and I know that in India, because the cost is a big issue, here we at least have approval. You can take that wire out. You don't need it. You don't put 3 wires. Yeah.
No,
so,
I'll take the rotowire out.
okay. So what basically we'll do, a patient with, we think very complex bifurcation intervention, like in this case, if I would have done the left main circumflex LED, we'll put an Impala. It's approved here, even with a near normal LV function with a complex CAD, high syntax score. But in this particular case, I would say that it's not will be the routine. But yes, if the EF would have been 35% or below, then we would have done this case with Impala.
Right.
So now what we are doing is we are putting a run through side by side into the LED and try to see whether we can open up that lesion of the left main, and so with a 1.5 burr we are done. Now if we did not, we leave the rotor wire side by side and we just upgrade the burr to 1.75. Because we learned that we use 1.5 burr, we actually we debated to go with 1.5 or go to 1.75. So we actually probably, if I would say in hindsight, 1.75 would have been a better. But that's okay too, as I was mentioning earlier, as long as we have cut the interelastic lamina. This is a, what balloon is this? 3.0? Huh?
3.5.
3.5?
20, yeah. That's okay, it's a big LED.
Okay. 3.5, 20. All right.
LED is large.
Okay. Now, we do have IVUS ready. As I made in the announcement that IVUS will use if we, particularly more for optimization. And you see here at 16 atmosphere, the lesion has opened up very nicely. But more important is, let's see what happened to the distal left main lesion. That is the more important, more calcified. Because this was the moderate calcified by angio. Yeah. And that's the what I would say the advantage of the.
A lot of the calcium is adventitial also.
Yeah. So
if it's I think it's opened up.
Yeah, it opened up very nicely.
Yes.
Some
It's
calcium
outside.
will remain.
I think one stent will not cover it.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back again.
I will take out the rotawire.
Yeah. The rotawire we can take out now. So clearly we leave the rotawire at the side by it works as a little cutting balloon, but more importantly that if you have to upgrade your burr, which is fine, the second is yes. As you mentioned, the rotatripsy, but only problem is that cost wise, very prohibitive cost. Same way, like there, it's a $4,000.
Right.
Yeah, it's here also like 4,500. Same in India, about 3 lakhs plus. Okay, that's where we are now. What do you want to do? I think we can just put one stent right now. 3.538, and if we had to put something else, we put later.
I think it's dissected.
But why the dissection occurred distally? We didn't go that far.
We did.
Yeah.
Not even that, even left main has a dissection.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So, people say, oh, there's the dissection. I say the dissection is a good thing. Because with the dissection, that means you have cut the plaque and now your stent is going to expand. 3.538 Zions, yeah.
And then we put one distally.
Yeah.
Normally we have to, move distal to proximal. We are doing other way around. We'll do proximal and then we put a stent distally. Right?
If we need it.
I think we will need it. Distally.
If needed, then why don't we put it first now?
Then what, you want to put a 3018?
Yeah, no, if you want to put it, then put, because we don't have 48 Zions here yet. So if you want to put a 3018 first distally is fine, and then we put a 3.5 proximally. Let's do it now. Let's play it. See.
No, the thing is,
yeah.
How are we going to place the left main?
Yeah, no, left main comes up to 5 millimeter of the ostium. See, ostium is good. Let's see the dissection.
That is what I was also going to question, Dr. Sharma. Your proximal placement in the left main, would you like to start right at the ostium? Or?
Yeah, just like 1 millimeter inside. Because remember, ostium, if you really have to cover ostium, you have to come out. So basically, I would say that I'll leave it. Look at the left main here. It's going to come.
Yes.
So just 1 millimeter. So leave that rim. So this one, I don't want to come out. See that? Very nice left main here. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's okay. 3018 and then we 3.538.
Doing an IVUS prior to stenting?
Yeah, question is, will it add anything? So, yeah, we can always do, and we have the IVUS ready, but...
I don't think it's going to add anything.
Yeah, this is
so
the
we
picture.
will just go 18. You have to go below that. See the dissection now,
right? You want
23? I think the dissection in the left main is extending quite proximally.
Yeah. Yeah, then we put a 23 and then we bring it back. Our 38 will cover.
Yes.
Yeah, so that is true. So the dissection coming, in this case, yeah, we can go a little distal first and then put a stent in the mid LED and then we come back with single stent. So far, Ramus has been fine. But that's a surprise that how it caused the dissection in the mid.
Probably the distal end of the balloon of the 3.5.
And I'm sure this vessel is entirely diseased vessel. Some plaque, which we did not see angiographically, and we'll see it on the IVUS soon.
Right.
Now, the patient has heparin or angiomax? Yeah, patient, we still use bivalirudin in some cases, particularly radial, we do all heparin. And patient was already on prasugrel, right? Yeah. Yeah. What happened is that people
Why
talk
take it
about.
in?
Yeah. Go.
Who prepped it? You cannot be neutral.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. So key is that 5 milligram dose, as you know, is coming up now. We actually have been practicing 5 milligram unless patient is 100 kilo.
Right.
Or we put a 3 stent. So we have been using 5 milligram for long time, and we have done a lot of pharmacodynamic studies, kinetic actually, that ACT, with the particularly with the PRU and so, and those are very well. Majority of them with a 5 milligram, you are able to get good inhibition of less than 230
38 is
and
too
so.
long now.
Yeah.
See?
You can
38
go a
is too
little
long.
distal. Yeah, go a little distal. That's okay. Yeah,
Don't
good. No, that's
unnecessary.
fine because
Okay,
you
some
need
die.
38. Yeah,
38.
yeah, good.
Okay.
Okay, this is a 3023 Zions Sky Point. I know it's
No.
not available there
Room
yet.
3.
We still have earlier generation. Here we have Giant Sierra and now the Sky Point, and it's available in 48 as a trial. We don't have a Zion's Expedition 48. Yeah, good.
Go.
Yeah, we don't have Zion's Expedition 48 here, only 38, and 48 is only in the trial, but only with the Sky Point. Yeah.
Sierra surprisingly is available in Bangladesh, but it's not available in India.
Well, maybe we have to send some patients to Bangladesh for medical care now from India.
Ready?
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Why
This
is
looks good.
not injecting properly?
No, that's because guide is outer. You don't want to
There
create
is
more
in every
dissection.
case.
Yes, so there is a dissection, and anytime you have dissection, we try to say inject slowly and less, because many times just by injection, dissection propagate. So now we are ready to put the 38 stent, and then of course we'll optimize with the 4015 high pressure, and then we do the IVUS.
Right. That looks fine.
Yeah, so far good. Particularly distal, fine, yeah. And we will give some vasodilator, some little spasm into the distal segment. And we are leaving the wire into the ramus.
Right.
Good, actually very good. Yeah. Yeah, make sure that's a good selection because 23
What
was
size
good.
is this?
So now we can come, it's a 3.5, 38.
Fine.
Yeah, let's see, guide out. We need to full coverage up to the ostium. You want to magnify?
No, it's okay. Good.
Pull back. You can pull back
I'll
2
pull
millimeter.
back.
Yeah. Good. Very good position.
Wait, I'm going to pull back a little bit.
Yeah. We can just do it without going further.
Okay.
You don't need a cine, just little
Yeah.
fluoro.
Yeah. Okay, good. Go.
Okay, good.
That's good.
Yeah, we have come up to the ostium now. And since we are covering stent to stent, usually we go 16 atmosphere. Here we can go a little higher. 18. Yeah. Actually, the stent has not fully expanded. A lot of calcium behind.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think the 1.75 would have been.
1.75 are we needed. I don't
Yeah.
know why you did 1.5.
Okay. Anyway,
So
we
what
are going
would
to
be your
post that.
post dilatation?
Yeah. So we actually have 4O. Yeah, take a picture now.
Right.
Good. Okay. We can take the ramus wire out and let's dilate now. Yeah, I mean, there's clearly a little under expanded, but that's okay. We need to post dilate. I think we can dilate with a 4O.
Yes.
Or you want 3.5 there?
4.
Yeah, here. See that?
Hmm.
And
I think 4O is
maybe
okay.
the
Yeah.
vasodilator now.
Yeah. We are going to do it now. Yes.
Yes.
Get us a 4, right?
Yeah, we have 4O.
4, what
But
size
question
you
is,
have?
we go to the long, no, 15 is fine. So we have focused high pressure dilatation. And then ramus, we may have to retrieve back, leave it here. in case we need to. Yeah. Okay. All right, at least see that now hemodynamic no longer dampening. So that I say that you have covered the ostium. Once you have the dampening disappears, means you have covered the ostium well.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
You want to go here first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Here I will go moderate pressure,
Okay. That's
like
good.
20. We don't have a open NC,
Down.
so we just have our regular. We go to 24, 26, not our 40 atmosphere with that open NC balloon. Yeah. Ready? I think we have to go a little distance
Yeah.
too. Yeah. Anyway,
no, very good,
now
very
we
good.
can go 26.
Down.
And furthermore, the lumen, we know that as long as we got a good lumen, particularly LED, we get more than 7 millimeter and so, and the left main more than 8.5. That should be our goal on the IVUS. And I say that don't get too crazy once you get that lumen, it's okay. Because then going to
Down.
much higher pressure may create more trouble. Have a 4.5 balloon ready, but we don't need it. Yeah. Go little edge or we are okay?
We are good.
Good. Okay. Take a picture. Let's give nitro wave 1 second. Yep. Go. We are given the vasodilator now. Good. I think looks good so far. Ramus is still there. Let's evaluate based on the IVUS. Then what more need to be done? Circ remain good. Ramus is still some subtotal. If we need to be, we can go back with the recross and put a small balloon, which we had earlier 2.0. But more important is let's see how the left main and LED are. So that is the critical.
But
Yeah.
Dr. Sharma, the general dictum is if it's flowing, it will keep flowing.
Yeah, it is flowing. That's
If
it.
we touch it,
And leave it. Yeah, and we can ask the participants to ask any question in the chat box, because this is what we always encourage. Yes.
I'm on with the chat box.
Good. Perfect.
There's one question. Don't you think the LED stent must be longer distally than what it is? So your
Okay.
thought on the length of the LED stent?
Let's see how it is now. Let 1 second. Let me take a picture. Let's review.
I mean, let's go back and angiographically, if you see where it was, you have a large first septal, second septal, and third septal. We just started, I think, at the level of third septal.
Yeah.
After that, angiographically looks normal, should not go longer than that. He's a young guy. If he restenosis, he should still have an option for bypass.
Yeah. See here.
Right.
Looks good. Yeah.
Yeah, this looks clean actually.
Yeah.
Proximal, there's probably a distal mismatch, as in the
Go.
stented segment is much larger than the
Okay,
normal segment.
Screen.
Yeah, so we can see the struts
Yeah.
coming now. Looks good.
Yeah, Ulla post.
Yes.
I mean, clearly, oppose our goal will be here. Is it fully expanded? That has it created a good lumen. Where in the
Looks
left
good. The lumen looks very good in LED. Let's see
Yes.
with the left main. Yeah.
Fluoro.
Show us when the circ comes. Where are we?
Yeah.
Oh, this
It's
is
still in
where
the
it
LED,
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
We have to give us in the proximal LED. Okay, bookmark there.
This is proximal
Yeah.
LED.
Is that the circ? Yeah. Yeah. So give us a cross-sectional area for the left main.
Okay, this moment, syringe stent,
Fully
expanded,
opposed.
still covered,
Wow.
And the proximal
to the
looks
area
good.
of the-
No
okay.
dissection.
I can tell you the
Full
vessel, the IVUS actually looks more reassuring than usually it's the angiogram, which it looks better than IVUS here. Actually, IVUS looks better than angiogram. right? I mean, look at that. Okay, let's do the analysis now. So LED, is this the LED or left
No,
main?
left main.
This is the left main.
8.7. Okay,
Yeah,
I mean,
like more than 9.
yeah, 9. No, close 9. You're good. So 9 is good.
Yeah,
so
it's
let's go to the LED.
Yes.
The tightest area of the LED.
Okay. So,
Not the come proximal. Where I said bookmark a little bit distal to
Get
that.
a Lima guide.
Yeah. Like
We do the
here is
FFR
a
of
little
RCA.
bit
Yeah.
elliptical,
Take it,
but
yeah.
I think area is like
7.6. Very good.
Yeah.
So
Like
anything more than
7.3.
6.5 is very good.
Yeah, more than 5.5. It's good.
Yeah. Okay, now do we need to put more post dilate? I think it looks very
I
good.
think we'll leave it alone.
Yeah.
If we keep post dilating, we may lose that ramus.
Yes. I think it's quite a good result. Anune?
Yes, sir, it's an excellent result. Just have a doubt whether we should keep a wire in the ramus when we are post dilating so that there is a less plaque shift.
But then only thing is you have to recross. Yes. So I would say the good point. If you're concerned, then you have to rewire and then leave it. Yes. That's a good point. And here we are very good, nicely open. And what we are going to do now, since the ramus still looks good. Still
Actually, you see the Sir costume?
yeah,
It's very nice. Which means in the future, if at all he develops circ disease, we can recross and go back to the circ if need be in the future.
Yeah.
There's one question. Would you like to pot the left main with a 4.5, or we are quite happy with that?
No, we have done the-
no area. I think that.
Yeah, we have done the IVAS. Okay, that's the reason to make sure that is well opposed. And once you see well opposed, you should not go behind that. Yeah.
Okay. So now we are going to do the right
I think
and left.
that
Yeah.
answers to the.
Yeah. So I think, no, let's put this way also. You want to do a pot with a 4.5, nothing, just that proximal part of the left main to the 4.5, nothing wrong in that. If somebody wants to do it, we cannot say that should not be done. But since we have done the imaging study, based on the imaging now, I would say that it is not needed just after without IVAS, yes, I would have done it. But we actually had the 4.5 balloon open here. I mean, not open means just we asked for it. Go. So, but yeah, since we did, and lumen is 9+, yeah.
Yeah, by doing that, you have a risk of proximal edge dissection. Since we are not up to the ostium, there is part of the left main that's uncovered with the stent.
1 millimeter only uncovered. Yeah, most of them is covered. 1 millimeter is not covered. Yeah.
Many of us back here in India would have used an OPN actually for the
that is correct.
middle
Yes.
of proximal part of LED. You did go up to 26
Yes.
atmospheres, and that's pretty much enough.
Good.
I mean, I'm just trying to pick up some questions and.
No, I absolutely agree with that. So this is a kind of case. You don't need a cutting balloon. You don't need IVL. This is a good case for open NC. Go to 40 atmosphere, same 3.5 or so.
Right.
So we are ready with and we'll take a picture and let's take the vote. Whether FFR will be positive,
You give
less than
nitro?
0.8 I gave. Nitro, verapamil all done. Let's take a picture and the vote, whether it will be positive or negative. We'll go to the PDA. Good.
Okay.
What do you think, Sandeep?
I think it should be positive. My hunch is it would be positive.
And Anirudh?
Anunay, what do you think?
It should be positive FFR.
All right, let's see.
I mean,
Maybe we
based
can
on the
ask.
kind of-
Yeah.
We quite often do FFR in our lab, and the hunch is it should be positive, particularly at the lesion at the tightest point.
Right. Yep.
There it may be.
Yeah, and particularly I would say this is a freshly ruptured plaque.
Right.
Because we have the angiogram about just not 1 month, about 3.5 weeks earlier. And 24th of June, there was lesion, not normal, but 30, but like definitely less than 50. Anyway, we are.
Couple of questions.
Yep.
Were you concerned about the eccentricity of the lumen? we could see there
Yeah,
was
so that we know that the eccentric stent opening has correlated with some higher restenosis, but in calcific lesion, as much as you can do, quite an area actually remain quite circular. This is not a true eccentric, but most of the time, most of the places it was more circular than eccentric. Okay, now here we are going with the live wire, but yes, concern is the same. I would say that this case, if probably 1.75 bar would have made a little better difference. I'll go to the PDA, not AV, the very tight lesion. Yeah. You want this?
there's another opinion.
No, it's RPL. I think so. No, this is RPL.
Which is that, do you think you should have used a shorter balloon for the proximal pot when you were in left main?
Yeah. So clearly 4.58. So I would say that adding completing this case with a 4.58 millimeter is perfectly recommended.
No, they are asking the length.
Yeah,
in this case, remember we've covered from left main to LAD. So in that situation, yes, 15 length was okay because we took the same balloon into the proximal LAD. If we were just focusing on the left main, then short balloon is necessary. Yes.
Balloon would have been
Yes.
fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those are some of the questions that are coming from guys across the country.
Okay. Yeah. No, we want those questions, and this is there, and we actually now.
There are some personal opinions. Somebody says it is mid portion. We've seen that on the IVUS it is well expanded.
Yeah.
And
Pull the wire a little bit.
What are they saying?
Pull the wire a little bit. No.
Personal opinion?
One opinion is that perhaps the ostium should be covered or not. I think you went all the way up to the ostium. So
Yeah, 1 millimeter. Yeah. Okay, let's start the drug. Yeah. Yeah, so we went, actually go back there.
Sir, one question, there is a disease in distal RCA in the PD. So how will we achieve maximal hyperemia with adenosine?
So no, the question is very good point. So PD is okay. It's only the RPL. Remember the disease is more in the RPL.
In
the
RPL.
PDA, very further down. Yeah, PD is okay, mild diffuse. So our wire right now is in the PDA. And we started with a 0.95 and actually after, yeah, good. Yeah, here. So you want to say? Yeah.
So if you see
Pull
here,
back.
but going back to your question, should we have come all the way to the ostium? So I think here we made it very clear. True ostium is free of disease.
Yes.
But still, and the overlap is almost close to 6 millimeters overlap there.
No,
so we did pull back.
Yeah, yeah.
So we did pull back. So going back to that question there, should we have covered up to the ostium? I think from the beginning we made it clear that ostial left main was not involved. And now it's very clear after we did the stent to the left main, we never saw any ventricularization or damping.
Yeah. Yeah, see that? Very nice. So the point we are trying to make here. Sorry.
A question for you, Dr. Sharma. Somebody wants to know suppose when a plaque is freshly ruptured,
That's good enough.
is the FFR data still reliable?
Yeah, that's a very good point. So question is in the acute coronary syndrome is still very variable.
Pull back, right?
Particularly now you see here we are going to pull back. Actually, if we gave a 2 minutes of adenosine, which has been negative, we are pulling back. It still remain the same, 0.90. Keep pulling back. So I think the key is if it is an obstructive lesion, definitely it will be reliable. And now here you can see here that there is regular drift up to 0.98. So good. So 1. So I would say that this actually goes back that when we did the angiogram on this particular case few weeks ago was about lesion, whether it's a part in the spasm at this time, but definitely not obstructive. It's not obstructive. Right. So clearly that, and what the FFR has done? A lot of data with the FFR nowadays that which have shown to us that FFR improves the long-term survival. Maybe part of that is because we avoid putting the unnecessary stent. That's one. And secondly, we define these vulnerable plaques. So maybe non-obstructive on angiogram, but this is a positive remodeling plaque burden, which has been shown by both Prospect 1 and Prospect 2. Even non-obstructive can give rise to an event rate in the future. So by doing the FFR, you are identifying those plaques. So therefore, coming back to the point, I think only one, it will not make sense in acute MI. The acute MI, the culprit vessel. In acute MI, non-culprit vessel, there have been many studies show that yes, FFR is a good prognostic or predictor. But many times they have also shown when these patients come back, their FFR changes because of different vasodilatation compared to vasoconstriction at the time of the MI. But coming back to this point of the ruptured plaque, if this ruptured plaque is causing obstruction of the CAD, then obstructive lumen, then FFR will show it. And therefore, any acute coronary syndrome, FFR is okay, predictive. Only one will be in STEMI in the culprit vessel. So that's where we don't have, there I would not rely on the FFR based on the literature. But this case,
Those are great points actually. And two more questions apparently from youngsters. One of them thinks that the ramus needed a re-entry. We already discussed that. If it is flowing, it's a small vessel. He says in the first place, the purpose of having done the ballooning gets defeated. But I think we all learn over a period of time that chasing very small vessels repeatedly, particularly through the stent, is not a great idea.
Yeah.
As you already addressed.
Now, going back to that point, I mean, we know we have created so many apps. Whenever we are saying when you're doing provisional stenting, which is this case, you consider this as bifurcation and you consider provisional stenting, they're right in the sense that this vessel we considered a 2.5. Okay, most people will say don't do anything, stent across. But if you decide go behind it, which we did, and ballooned it, then this particular case where we see TIMI2 flow now, there is a reason that you have to go back and open it. But since we what is the reason that this dissection happened? Because the side branch lesion was greater than 70-80% and a long lesion more than 10 millimeters. So we know it will cause dissection. Now re-entering the side branch will be way harder. When we are re-entering, try to use polymer jacketed wire. When we do that, we could get into dissection and make it worse. So that is why I think nothing wrong in leaving alone. Now, is there a risk of leaving this alone? Yes, there's a risk. Now, right now, patient is stable, no chest pain, so we are fine. If patient was having chest pain, EKG changes, we definitely have to go back and open it. Otherwise, there is a risk of stent thrombosis in leaving a side branch dissection with a TIMI2 flow, especially close to the left main. That agrees, but this patient already will be on a strong DAPT.
But yes, there is actually equally strong data which says that even if you have wire patency, means you've kept the wire there and the vessel is kept patent, that's good enough. It doesn't make too much of a difference in any vessel which is say up to 2.25 or even up to 2.5. So that should settle that particular issue. Another question is, have you, Dr. Sharma, when you go up to, say, 26 atmospheres with these non-compliant balloons, have you ever experienced rupture of balloon?
Oh, yes. I would say about 10% balloon will rupture after 22 atmosphere. Not the open NC, which we don't have, but a regular non-compliant balloon, about 10% will rupture once you go beyond 22 atmosphere. But it's reasonable to do, and you're within the stent, so it's not harmful from that purpose. So key, in this particular case, I would say that the few important points, and I'll to say, sum them up. One, should you have done 4.5 balloon optimization of the distal left main? I would say yes, but since we have the data from the IVUS, we felt not to do. Second, should you have gone back into the diagonal, that ramus and dilate with a 2O balloon. Yes, but only problem with there remains that now then you have to disrupt the stent struts of the LAD left main, do a kissing balloon dilatation again, and if clinically it would have done, and that is where in this particular case was that if there is some chest pain, some EKG changes you are monitoring there, we will definitely go after that. So threshold is a little higher. After the stenting, we left the wire when the stent was placed. That is what the recommendation is. But the go further and recross and then you cause even more dissection is a little troublesome. So just keep it open, no EKG changes, a small vessel, it's perfectly fine not to do it. And then lastly, we have the data on the 2B3A. We know that Epciximab data were there, epi-stent trial and so that giving Epciximab prevent the side branch closure. There were kind of other GP2B3A with tirofiban and eptafibatide was not that strong, but definitely were strong data with the Epciximab, which is not available. That molecule has been disappeared. So this kind of case, for the side branch, I call it a liquid stent. So we give only boluses. We don't give anybody drip. We published long time ago that you don't need drip unless you have a major EKG changes of total side branch closure. So those cases will give IV 2B3A, but otherwise in about 10% of cases, we use 2 boluses of eptafibatide, 10 minutes apart, 1 or 2 boluses, but no drip. I know that tirofiban and eptafibatide both are available in India by various manufacturers. So this is the ideal case where it will be useful even on top of your strong antiplatelet therapy. So we know that patient is on prasugrel, but giving 2 boluses of eptafibatide, in this case 1 bolus at least we can give for the side branch. And what it does many times, improve little flow, and somebody having EKG changes and chest pain, this clearly improves. Although in this particular case, show the 6 lead, nothing looks like here in terms of the EKG changes and patient has no chest pain. We have inquired that.
2 more questions, Dr. Sharma. One, 2 people have actually asked as to whether you would have liked to do an IVUS or OCT in the right coronary before you actually, thought you'd go after the FFR. Would you do imaging? Would you have done imaging in the right coronary?
Yeah, very good point. Wow. So we know that in the epicardial vessel, non-left main, the lumen of 4 mm square has correlated with bad outcome, but more stronger data we have on the FFR and IFR. And therefore, if you want to decide, which we used to do maybe like 15 years ago, make a decision in the intermediate lesion based on the IVUS, and then of course OCT. It's very unclear what is your cutoff for OCT. But more importantly, in this case, the decision to intervene and no intervene, I can tell you, do it only basis of physiology, whether FFR or IFR, no question on that. If somebody wants to say, I want to IVUS if the lumen less than 4 mm, I say absolutely not, because you don't need it, because nobody has shown that as a long-term prognostic. What we know, long-term prognostic by many recent data from the BCIS as well as from United States, that your FFR guidance improves survival, not only decrease revascularization, and so improves survival. And of course, we know that based on the original FAME1, FAME2 trial data, that it decreased revascularization. So in this case, if the decision needs to be made for the RCA to intervene, yes or no, has to be 100% based on the IFR, FFR physiology, not based on the anatomical of the OCT or IVUS.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. Actually, anatomy versus physiology is a never-going, ongoing debate. And coming from a luminary like you, I think that's very reassuring, because I personally also very firmly believe that physiology is the thing you've got to make your base your decisions on. One question.
And I'll ask Anu. Maybe Anu can make another point also. Anu,
let him finish the question.
Okay, let's see another question. Yeah.
The medical therapy. This patient was an adequate medical therapy. Are there some, there are some lacunae still remaining which we can address? To prevent such patients from having disease progression?
Okay,
and
this is there is no question about. This is a ideal case of PCSK9 inhibitor or eclisaran when it is available every 6-month injection. So this one we already have decided that now
Right.
we'll start him on
LDL.
the Repatha 140
special
milligram.
LDL.
I give 140 milligram once a month only. Although you can give 400, the once a month or sometime 140 milligram twice a day. I mean twice a month. But this case will be started on Repatha, which is available also. So this is definitely, even if the LDL is low. So there are some additive benefit that the trials have shown that even with a good LDL, adding those PCSK9 inhibitor, in this particular case, we know some rupture plaque took place even with that LDL level because they all have HDL issues and so. So this was the ideal case of PCSK9 inhibitor.
Sir,
Great.
one question, sir.
Yeah.
If its non-hyperemic indexes are available in your lab? IFR,
Yeah, so
RFR?
we have IFR. Yeah, so basically, we don't use the RFR, we use IFR. And IFR, we keep it in about 20% of cases. Now, what are those 20%? One patient who have a history of asthma, patient with aortic stenosis. So those are the two major groups when we are doing any valve disease and patients who have asthma that we use IFR. Now you say, why not? Knowing that the trials have shown IFR and FFR equal. But remember, if you take all the trials, those books, that IFR driven revascularization was about 6% lower compared to FFR. Although end outcome at 1 year, 2 year was not different. So say, and I think that reliability of the FFR is much better than IFR. And I don't know what your experience is. When we do IFR, 10% of them we have trouble. This is the best lab, we have the best equipment. With the FFR, rarely trouble. But IFR, 10% we have some trouble with the equipment, with the machine, and so on and so forth.
So in case of discordant result, for example, you have done FFR which was negative here and IFR would have been positive. So you will rely on FFR more.
Yeah, no, I think what I have learned also based on the literature data that if discordant and any of them is positive, even IFR if let's say become less than 0.89, actually it could be even more predictive than negative FFR. So I would go if I decide as a evaluation point of view based on the literature, actually negative IFR was better predictive. There were two papers now that if you have negative IFR versus negative FFR, which is more predictive of the future event? It turns out to be negative IFR is more predictive of lower event compared to negative FFR.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.